What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. I know this is normally a channel for college football content, but I thought, hey, college basketball season is upon us. It is in full swing, and March is here. It's the time of the year where brackets get busted, fans sit on their couches, coach from their living rooms, and where March truly becomes madness right here. It's the NCAA tournament. This is the men's bracket. If you haven't seen it yet, here it is. And I'm going to be predicting every single game for you guys. Who do I have making my Final Four and who will cut down the nets in New Orleans? First of all, I do want to say, hey, thank you guys so much for clicking on this video, for looking at what I got to say about these teams. And if you like it and you want to see me talk about college basketball next season, I've been thinking about maybe moving this into a college sports channel with football and basketball. Might get a little busy here on the channel, or I might make a second channel. Who knows? But if you guys like that idea, please hit me up down in the comment section down below, and I would be more than happy to do it if I get enough feedback to do it. So let's go ahead and predict this tournament here. This is going to be one of the most exciting tournaments because for the first time in almost 3 years, you got players, coaches, and now fans all gathered together to watch some basketball. Environments are going to be electric. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to go round by round. So I'll start with all the round of 64 and we'll keep working our way down. I'm going to try to make this video as short as possible, but I am going to give you guys a little insight on what I think for each of these teams. Gonzaga and Georgia State. Now, this Georgia State team is not your typical 16 seed. In my opinion, they are much better than a 16 seed going up against the #1 overall seed. What doesn't Gonzaga have? They have experience, guard play, experience inside with Drew Timme, Chet Holmgren, one of the best big duo, one of the best bigs duos in the entire country. Probably the best. Gonzaga should easily beat Georgia State, although they might give them a little bit of a fight. Boise State and Memphis. Every statistical category here favors Memphis. And when I watch these two teams, I can see Boise State making this one close, but I like Memphis fighting Penny Hardaway's here to move on to the round of 32 to beat Gonzaga. Uconn going to be facing New Mexico State here in the first round. I like Uconn in this game. New Mexico State's got a lot of good guards with Teddy Allen, the Nebraska transfer who has had a great year for New Mexico State. Some other guys that can score the basketball, but Uconn, one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the tournament. I like the way this Uconn team plays. Give me Uconn. Arkansas versus Vermont. This is where March becomes madness. And with me saying that, you probably know who I'm picking here. I love JD Notae at Arkansas, but who else is going to help him with scoring? This Arkansas team got a first half scare from Colgate last year in the NCAA tournament. Vermont plays a similar style to that. Plus, Vermont is great defensively. They won each game in the American East tournament by more than 30 points. Give me the upset. I like the Catamounts of Vermont to move on and play Uconn in the round of 32. The first upset of many more to come. Alabama versus Rutgers and Notre Dame. I think no matter who comes out of that, for the record, I do think it will be Rutgers, but I do think Alabama is going to be able to win this game. If Alabama can shoot it well, Alabama is going to get hot, right? Just the style of play of this Alabama team, they love to kick it out, find the open shooter, and if Alabama can do that and they can start shooting the three like everyone knows they can, this Bama team is going to be hard to beat. Give me Bama to beat Rutgers. I think we'll win that game on Wednesday. Again, the first four starts tonight, guys. March is already here. Texas Tech playing Montana State. Texas Tech playing some of the best basketball in the nation. I like Texas Tech to win this game. Michigan State and Davidson. Davidson's got a Michigan State transfer guard. That's a story to watch. His name is Foster Lawyer. He's going to be poised to beat his former team. And I think they will. I think Davidson will beat Michigan State. I see this game being pretty close, though. Michigan State can definitely give Davidson a fight, but Davidson's got a lot of shooters on this team. I like Davidson to pull off the slight upset here and move on to the round of 32. Duke and Cal State Fullerton. As much as I love Cal State Fullerton here, there is just no natural matchup for Paulo Banchero. I like Duke to win this game. Moving on now to the South region in the round of 32, Arizona will be beating Bryant, who will come out of that first 4 game. I think Peter Kiss-Bryant will beat Wright State, and then Arizona should have no trouble there. One interesting thing to watch with Arizona is the guard. Their star point guard, Kerr Carissa, leads the team in 3-point shooting. He's going to be something to watch as this tournament goes on if he comes back and plays. Trying to recover from an ankle injury. They expect him to be able to play, ready to go. I hope so. Gives them a nice lift to this Arizona team. I like Arizona to win this game. Seton Hall versus TCU. This is going to be a very interesting game here. In my opinion, it's 2 teams trending in opposite directions. But again, it's March. Anything can happen. TCU is playing the better basketball right now, and I think they have a better matchup inside with Likes, who is just so hard to box out. Miles as well. I might be mixing those 2 players up, but TCU's got a guy inside really hard to box out. I like TCU to win this game and move on to play Arizona. Houston versus UAB. I know UAB is going to be a really trendy pick here. UAB is going to be the team that everyone is picking to win this game, but Houston is not your typical 5 seed. Again, UAB is not your typical 12 seed either, but Houston is just not your typical 5 seed. And Kelvin Sampson in March, pretty hard to argue with that. Just look at what he's done this year without 2 of his best players, arguably his 2 best players, definitely his best player in Marcus Sasser and another huge key role player, both of them gone for this Houston team, and they were still able to win the American Conference. Houston is going to win this game against UAB. Illinois versus Chattanooga. The shot heard around the nation for Chattanooga. What a shot that was to knock off Furman in the SoCon Championship. And they are led by star guard Malachi Smith, and he is going to have a day in this one. Guard play for Illinois has struggled this year, so Malachi Smith, I think, is going to have a good game here. It may sound like I'm going with Chattanooga, but this team for Chattanooga, while I think they're going to make this game close, they just don't have the bodies to throw at Kofi Coburn, the big man of Illinois, who's averaging a double-double. I like Illinois to move on, win this game. Colorado State and Michigan State. This is not your conventional game, right? So Michigan as the 11th seed, I don't know how they escaped the first 4, but they somehow got a bye into the tournament without having to play in the first 4, besides one of the other Big Ten teams of Rutgers or Indiana, who beat them in the Big Ten tournament. But I digress. The Michigan is favored to win this game, which is why I said this is not your conventional game, because I got Colorado State and David Roddy moving on here and beating Michigan. And so while seed-wise it's not an upset, it's an upset because Michigan is the favorite. I got Colorado State upsetting Michigan in an unconventional March Madness upset. Tennessee's playing some of the best basketball right now. I think they're going to be able to beat Longwood. This team has got really good play, and they're starting to play as a team. This is starting to be a player-led team in huddles and on the court. Fantastic. Ohio State and Loyola Chicago for one of the more intriguing matchups of the first round here, and it all depends on if Ohio State can get healthy. With Zed Key, Michi Johnson, Kyle Young, all of them are, well, doubted to play in the game, but again, we don't really know what their status is going to be. But this Ohio State team has not played well down the stretch. Loyola Chicago has been here before, but you guys know me. I am one of the biggest Ohio State fans, so I got to go with my boys, not just for me, but I also think that if Ohio State can get healthy, and they have Zed Key, they have Michi Johnson, they have Kyle Young, Ohio State will win this game against Loyola Chicago. They just are the better offensive team. I know defensively they have struggled, and this Loyola Chicago team can put up points, but I like the Buckeyes to win this game against Loyola Chicago. Send Sister Jean home early. Villanova versus Delaware. Villanova is too well coached to lose to Delaware. I got Nova winning this game. All right, moving on down. Baylor, of course, will beat Norfolk State. No question. They're defending national champs. Yeah, they have some injury problems there, but there's still a lot of good players that play for Baylor. Moving on there. North Carolina and Marquette. Armando Bacot is going to give Marquette fits in this game. He is going to give them fits. Marquette does not have the size to match up with North Carolina's Armando Bacot and a lot of the more physical guys. North Carolina runs a lot of ball screen action, and I like North Carolina to move on and play Marquette. Or excuse me, and play Baylor in the round of 32 to beat Marquette to go on to play Baylor. St. Mary's a very well-coached team out of the West Coast Conference. What a year St. Mary's had. Going to be facing the winner of Wyoming and Indiana. For the record, I think Indiana will be winning this game. That game is on tonight as of recording this video. And I'm going to pick the upset here. I think Indiana will win against Wyoming, and then I think they're going to win St. Mary's. There's usually one team from the first four that always makes it to the second round. This year, I have that being Indiana. UCLA versus Akron. When I first looked at this matchup, I thought, boy, this could be another potential 13-4 upset, but I can't pick it. UCLA has got too much experience, and I have them moving on. Texas and Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is one of the hottest teams in the entire nation after winning the ACC. They've probably expended all that they can, but this Texas team, it just hasn't all worked out for them, right? The Texas still has inconsistency problems this year. They have been up and down all year. This one was a really tough one to call, but I think Virginia Tech is poised for some kind of run in March. I like the Hokies to upset the Texas Longhorns. One last gasp for Virginia Tech, which probably guess where I'm going the next round. Purdue and Yale. This is going to be another interesting game. Azar Swain for Yale is a really, really good guard, and he absolutely tore up Princeton in the Ivy League final. But Purdue has another really good guard. Don't know if you've heard of him. His name is Jaden Ivey. He's pretty good. If you haven't heard, he's really good. They got a great. They got the twin. They got Towers in there, right? With Zach Edey and Travion Williams. I like Purdue to move on there. The Towers inside, I think we'll get that win over Yale. Whilst Swain and Edey battle out at guard play, Purdue's got the size to win the game. Murray State in San Francisco. I like Murray State in this one. This one's a no-brainer to me. Look at how well Murray State has been playing. This is a phenomenal game. I like this is going to be a phenomenal game, but I like Murray State to come out and win. And then I like Kentucky to beat St. Peter's. St. Peter's, it's their first tournament in 11 years. But for Kentucky, Ty Washington, Oscar Tshiebwe, just too good of players there at Kentucky to lose to St. Peter's. Moving on now to the Midwest, I do have Kansas winning the winner of the first four game, which I think will be Texas A&M Corpus Christi. San Diego State and Creighton. Both these teams play pretty good defense, but I think Creighton is capable of making more shots with Kaluma and O'Connell, with Kalkbrenner inside there as well. Hawkins as well. I think Creighton's got more guys that can score the basketball. This is going to be a defensive game, but I like the Blue Jays to move on in the round of 32. Iowa and Richmond, a couple interesting teams here. Richmond, I don't know how they got a 12 seed, especially over a team like South Dakota State. But Iowa is one of the hottest teams in the country, coming off a Big Ten tournament championship. I like the Hawkeyes to move on into the round of 32. Providence and South Dakota State. This is a bad matchup for Providence. Providence got smacked against Creighton in the Big East final, and I think it's an omen for what is to come in March. South Dakota State, very hot team. Give me another 13-4 upset. The Jackrabbits are different this year. Baylor Shireman, fantastic guard. I had to think of the name for a minute. He's a fantastic guard, plays really good basketball. He is going to move on to set up an interesting matchup with Iowa. LSU and Iowa State. It's going to be tough to gauge where this LSU team is mentally. If they're set, ready to go, this LSU team likes to force steals and they score a lot of points off turnovers. But with the Will Wade and all the controversy, it's hard to predict where this LSU team is going to be. Iowa State, they've had their struggles this year and they struggle to score the basketball, but I think they will pull off the upset here against an ill-minded LSU Tiger team. Wisconsin and Colgate. I know if people are going to pick a 14-3, they're going to pick Colgate to upset Wisconsin. I just don't see it. This Colgate team is not as good as last year. I know they absolutely ran through the the Patriot League, but I still think Wisconsin is too good. They will beat Colgate here. USC in Miami, in my opinion, guys, this was one of the toughest games to call this year. This was one of the toughest games to call this tournament. And USC, I really like with Mobley and just all these other scores for USC. Some very good players that play for this Trojan team. They play well as a team as well. But something is just telling me, I have just this feeling that Miami will get it done. Miami able to make a run through the ACC tournament, able to go on to play Duke. Something is speaking to me about this Miami team, and I have them moving on to the round of 32. And then I got Auburn beating Jacksonville State in the round of 64 as well. So Auburn into the round of 32 against Miami. Moving back up to the top half of the bracket, should go a little faster now that you guys have an idea of what I think about each of these teams. I do have Gonzaga beating Memphis. Look, really, no matter which team comes out of Boise State, Memphis, I don't see either of them giving Gonzaga a huge fight. I think Memphis will give Gonzaga a better fight, but I still do think that Gonzaga will move on to the Sweet 16. Yukon and Vermont. Here's where March gets crazy again. I got Vermont, the Catamounts, moving on. Yukon is one of the most impressive offensive rebounding teams in the nation, but Vermont is one of the best teams in the country at disallowing the offensive rebound. Only on 17% of rebounds is there an offensive rebound, which is really, really low compared to a lot of other teams in the tournament. Vermont does not allow offensive rebounds while Yukon gets them. It's going to be an interesting game, but I have Vermont moving on the double-digit 13 seed Vermont Catamounts into the Sweet 16 to face Gonzaga. Alabama versus Texas Tech, and this one's a tough one to call because Texas Tech is playing the better basketball, but I've already told you if Alabama can get hot, they can make a run, but I got to go with the team that's playing the better basketball right now, and that is Texas Tech. Davidson and Duke. It was a fun little one-game win for Davidson here. But again, Paulo Banchero becomes a matchup problem for Davidson, and I like Duke to move on into the round of 32. Into the Sweet 16. Into the South region, I got Arizona, TCU. Arizona's just too talented, and they actually have bodies they can throw inside at TCU. Seton Hall's got one. Arizona's got multiple. I like Arizona to beat TCU, move on to the Sweet 16. Houston and Illinois, and I think this is where Houston's injuries finally catch up with them. This is going to be a game where they would wish Marcus Sasser were to be playing. Houston, they definitely have a couple guys that can give Kofi Cockburn some trouble, but I still think Kofi Cockburn will end up having a day here and beat Houston. Illinois, I know their guard play has struggled this year as well, but when they're on. I got Illinois moving on to the Sweet 16. Colorado State and Tennessee. Again, give me Tennessee. This team is playing some of the best basketball in the nation. I like the Volunteers. Ohio State and Villanova. If Ohio State is healthy and by some miracle they get Justice Suing back in this tournament as well, they can give Villanova some problems. And Villanova struggles with size. They almost lost to St. John's in the tournament because of size. And Ohio State's got bodies they can throw at Villanova. Zed Key, Kyle Young, Joey Brunk. But this Villanova team is too well coached, and they shoot free throws way too well. And again, they're too well coached. I like Nova to win that game there. Sweet 16 in the bottom half of the bracket. March is madness. I got North Carolina beating Baylor. I think the injury to JTT for Baylor, that's Chachua for Baylor, finally catches up with them here. And North Carolina's Armando Bacot will have a day in size. I think Baylor's guards outplay North Carolina's guards, but North Carolina just going to be able to outwill Baylor in this game. And I think they will beat Baylor and move on to the Sweet 16, the 8 seed knocking out the defending champs. Wyoming and Indiana, I have as the team here facing UCLA. Got to go with UCLA. It was nice from first 4 to the round of 32 but I just can't see UCLA dropping this one to either of these three teams, or excuse me, to any of these three teams here. I got UCLA moving on to the Sweet 16. Virginia Tech versus Purdue. This is where the magical Virginia Tech postseason run comes to an end. I like Purdue. Too much size inside for Purdue. I like the Boilermakers in the Sweet 16. And then the game that the state of Kentucky will remember forever. Murray State facing the University of Kentucky. This is going to be a phenomenal game. I could see this one dropping either way. But I have to give the edge to Kentucky and Oscar Tshiebwe, a double-double machine. The guy averages the most rebounds in all of Division I, setting up a very interesting matchup with Purdue in the Sweet 16. Moving on here, Kansas and Creighton. I talked about Creighton's shooters already, but Kansas just has shooters as well. And I don't think Creighton will be able to make as many shots as they were against San Diego State to knock off Kansas. Kansas, Ochai Agbaji, David McCormick, and Remy Martin move on to the Sweet 16 Bill Self squad. Iowa and South Dakota State. And sadly, this is where the magical run for one of these two teams has to end. Both of these two teams are hot. And either of them are capable of making a run deep into this tournament. But I got to go with the hotter team right now, and that is the Iowa Hawkeyes, coming off of a win in the conference that has the most bids out of anyone this year with 9 teams, the Big Ten Conference, which Iowa won. South Dakota State, it was a very nice run. You got your upset win over Providence. This one is going to be a high-scoring, close game, but I got the Hawkeyes moving on to play Kansas in the Sweet 16. Iowa State and Wisconsin. Again, it was just tough to gauge where LSU was going to be, but Wisconsin going to be too talented for Iowa State. They're going to be able to win the game. Miami versus Auburn. And remember that feeling I had about Miami? It went away for this game. I really like this Auburn team, probably a lot more than most people. I like Auburn to move on to the Sweet 16. Back up to the top of the bracket for the Sweet 16, we got Gonzaga, Vermont. And yeah, this one is no contest here, right? Vermont might make this one interesting, but nah, Gonzaga all the way to the Elite Eight. Texas Tech and Duke. Two teams that are playing solid basketball right now, but we know Duke's problems, right? And what they've struggled to match up with in the past. Give me Texas Tech to go ahead, beat Duke. And sadly, that ends Coach K's final run in March, as everyone will be saying their goodbyes. Their sweet goodbyes will not be so sweet in the Sweet 16 as Duke falls to Texas Tech. Arizona and Illinois. Here now, look, I talked about before Chattanooga. I didn't think had the bodies to throw at Illinois. Houston, I also didn't think had the bodies to throw at Kofi Cockburn in Illinois. Arizona definitely has got more than one body they can throw at Kofi Cockburn, and that's all the proof I need. Arizona moving on to the Elite Eight. This is a tremendous basketball team here in Arizona. Tennessee and Villanova. This is going to be a very interesting matchup of two very well-coached teams, two teams that have some great players on them, but Tennessee is just playing the better basketball right now. Plain and simple, Tennessee is going to make a run in March. I have them moving on to the Elite Eight to set up a rematch of a regular season game against Arizona. So they go Gonzaga, Texas Tech, Arizona, Tennessee in my Elite Eight. Moving on to the bottom half of the bracket, can North Carolina's magical run in March as an 8 seed continue? I don't think so. UCLA is probably going to be fully healthy, ready to go by this point. And I have the UCLA Bruins making it into the Elite Eight. Back to the Elite Eight for UCLA. And Purdue and Kentucky, to me, this is going to be the matchup of the Sweet 16 if it happens. Oh, my goodness. Listen to this, all right? You got guard play from Jaden Ivey versus Ty Washington. Oh, but wait, it gets better. You got Zach Edey and Trevion Williams versus Oscar Tshiebwe inside. Ooh, all eyes are going to be turned on this game. What a game this is going to be. And this one was a really tough decision, but I ended up going with Purdue. I know they've had their defensive struggles this year, especially when guarding the backcourt or guards, guarding shooters. But Kentucky struggled at times with shooting the basketball, not really as consistently as some other teams with their struggles. But again, they've had some struggles shooting the ball. Some injuries with guard play as well has been a problem for Kentucky all year long. And Purdue inside. I think having two guys that can match up with Oscar Tshiebwe is going to be huge. I got Purdue moving on to the Elite Eight. Kansas and Iowa. This is going to be yet another high-scoring game. Both of these teams absolutely love to score points, but I think Kansas is the more scrappy team here. I know everyone has been hopping on this Iowa bandwagon and has had Iowa moving on to the Final Four into their national championship games. And it's not that I'm not buying it. It's just I think people have simply forgotten about this Kansas team, how well they can play. I know the narrative in March with Kansas. They choke. They can't win the big games in March. Kansas is capable of winning the big games in March. I have them beating Iowa in the Sweet 16. And I got Auburn beating Wisconsin in the Sweet 16 to set up a 1 versus 2. The only 1 versus 2 I have, and actually I have 3 1 seeds in my Elite Eight this year. But Kansas, Auburn, two very good teams. I think they'll beat their respective matchups in the Sweet 16. Move on to the Elite Eight. Gonzaga versus Texas Tech, rematch of a game a couple years ago. This one gonna be a lot of fun, but I got Gonzaga moving on to yet another Final Four for Mark Few. Arizona and Tennessee. If only these two teams were in two different regions, I would have both of them in my Final Four. I'm going to be real. If these two teams were in different regions, like say Wisconsin and Tennessee were to flip places, I would have Tennessee and Arizona both in my Final Four. I would. But sadly, there can only be one of these two teams in the Final Four. In this one, really, really tricky to decide. Tennessee beat Arizona in the regular season, and I think Arizona gets their revenge. Arizona moving on to the Final Four in Tommy Lloyd's first year. So we got Gonzaga, Arizona, 2 spots already clinched in New Orleans. Who will join them in setting up a game against the Gonzaga Bulldogs? Will it be UCLA? Will it be Purdue? This is going to be an interesting game to watch, but I think this is finally where Purdue's defensive struggles catch up with them. UCLA sets up a rematch with Gonzaga in the Final Four. What a story that is going to be. But UCLA back in the Final Four yet again this year. All right, Kansas and Auburn. Man, these two teams are going to go at it in this one here. But I think with the way that both of these two teams have played this year, especially down the stretch, you could argue Kansas has played better. But I really like this Auburn team. And I got Auburn moving on to go into the Final Four. Bruce Pearl's team, who has been fantastic pretty much all year long, will move on and go into the Final Four. Setting up these matchups for your Final Four, you got Gonzaga, UCLA, Arizona, Auburn, 2 fantastic battles. Who will cut down the nets in New Orleans? Gonzaga and UCLA, a rematch of last year. Gonzaga, yet again, the number 1 overall seed. UCLA making a little bit of a surprising run to the Final Four, especially with how deep the East region is. I mean, with Baylor, St. Mary's, Purdue, Kentucky, Murray State, a lot of good teams in that region. But again, only one can move on to the national championship game. And I have that team being the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Just too talented. This team arguably is even better than the team that was put on the court last year for Gonzaga. Again, it's going to be another classic game. I don't know if there will be another Jalen Suggs buzzer beater, but this game will be fantastic. I got Gonzaga moving on to the national championship game. Arizona and Auburn, and sadly, this is where the run for one of these teams has to end. I like both of these teams. Again, I like both these teams enough to put them in my Final Four, but I like one team just a little bit more, and that is Arizona. Arizona moving on to the national championship game to set up a 1-versus-2, mano-a-mano. Look at these two teams on paper and tell me there couldn't be a more even matchup in this tournament. Gonzaga, Arizona. And if there's one team that knows all of Gonzaga's tricks, it's Arizona. It's Tommy Lloyd, the former Gonzaga assistant, in his first season as the head coach of Arizona, facing Mark Few. It's the master. It's the protege. Who comes on top? There's a very good quote that I like, and that quote will tell you who I'm picking in my national championship game. The quote goes as follows: "The master has often failed more times than the beginner has even tried." Gonzaga, 2 national titles under Mark Few, two national championship trips under Mark Few. They haven't been able to break it. Arizona, this is the first time Tommy Lloyd has ever taken Arizona to the tournament in his first season as a head coach. And for Gonzaga, the master, 3rd time's a charm. The Gonzaga Bulldogs, all of the haters can finally put their thoughts to rest as Gonzaga wins an absolute classic in the national championship game, 84-82. Mark Few finally gets that national title, and Gonzaga is your national championship. One more look at the bracket while I say my goodbyes here. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please like, comment, subscribe, share the video, anything you can to help support the channel. It would mean a lot to me. And also, hey, if you guys want to see me cover college basketball next year, I would be more than happy to do so. Probably end up making a second channel for it. But yeah, so again, thank you guys so much for watching. To recap, here is my Final Four and national championship picks. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Happy bracketing. Enjoy your March Madness. I'll see y'all in the next one. Remember to play hard, tailgate harder. We'll be back with more college football content on this channel after March Madness. Goodbye.